Good afternoon. You're watching Proactive London. Agam Jain, CEO at Vector Capital, is joining us today. Good to meet you, Agam. How are you?
And good to meet you, Chris. I'm fine. Thank you.
Glad to hear it. So firstly then, for the benefit of our viewers, just give us a brief overview of what you do at Vector.
Okay, so Vector is a bridge lending company. So primarily we lend to people that are going to buy properties for refurbishment, to develop, and then to either resell or let out, or for people that are going to buy properties at auction where they need fast decisions. And they will then use us for the bridging, and then later on look for a longer term loan elsewhere from the high street.
So it seems like a fairly straightforward business model in its first instance. Your interim results are just out, and I know that Vector itself has said they're very healthy. Can you touch on some of the highlights and what kind of litmuses you're using in these strange economic times?
Okay, so our loan book, which is a key indicator, has grown by 27% year on year from 30th June 2021 to now, 30th June 2022, and it's at 51.6 million. Our revenue's gone up by 21% in the same period, and our profit after tax has gone up 20%. Earnings per share is at 2.8. So all the key indicators have done very well. And we'll be paying a healthy dividend of 1p per share to all shareholders, which is again up from the 0.95p in the previous year for an interim. So yeah, on all the key indicators, we perform very well.
I'm glad to hear it, and sounds very healthy as well, and keeping the shareholders happy can't be a bad thing. It is strange economic times, as we say. Why do you think, as the statement says today on the RNS, that the UK property lending market has stayed so resilient?
Even I'm surprised about this. We've had COVID. We've had before that we had Brexit. We've had COVID. We've had the Ukraine war. We've got high inflation. Incredible energy prices that we've never had before, and now today we've got a change of prime minister and high inflation. Okay, on top of that, we've had base rate increases that we haven't had for years and years and years. Okay, despite that, the bridge lending sector has grown year on year. It's gone through all these obstacles. Last year, the Association of Short-Term Lenders, of which we're a member, they showed loan growth from 5 billion to 6 billion in the period covered by our results, and that's quite incredible. First of all, we could have put it down to there was the stamp duty relief, and we thought that was helping the market. But even after that went, we still carried on with this growth, and I've been thinking, well, at some time there's got to be a correction. Some things have got to slow down, but it hasn't happened yet. And I'm just thinking, we're still targeting very aggressive growth for next year. All our competitors are doing the same. Is there going to be a period of reflection? Maybe. Let's see what the new prime minister's policies are. If she's going to cut taxes, that's probably going to boost things rather than be a setback. But I think the one thing that could be a dampener is the Bank of England rates, because at a point, if they stay up to where they are now, then we're probably all right. But if they carry on going up, what's going to happen then is, if you're a property investor or a developer, at some point you're going to think, well, the cost of borrowing in order to do the transaction is so high that is there going to be any margin left over for me at the end, you see? But we haven't got there yet, okay? But that's probably the main risk that could happen going forward, depending on what happens with Bank of England.
Yeah, and speaking from a layperson's point of view, it's with the amount of property shows and DIY shows on TV, that any number of people now think it's a good way to earn money fairly quickly. And you see some people even just buy these places at auction without having walked into the door.
We often get cases like that. At an auction, they won't read the legal pack, and they don't want to spend the money on a solicitor to read it for them, because they don't know if they're going to win the bid. And they get committed, and then they find that the reason why it was an auction is because it's got a whole horrendous set of issues that they haven't yet sort of come across. So anyway, so that's one. But yes, I think there's two pressures why the property prices will generally keep going up, even though they'll have sort of correction. There's a lot of people that are still waiting to get onto the ladder. Okay, that number with immigration and all the rest of it, there's a big pressure. And I often hear from brokers that when a property comes up for sale, a lot of these the property investors say, well, we bid for it, but there were about 10 other people bidding for it as well. Okay, so there still isn't enough stock out there, despite all the properties you see being built everywhere. So I think the medium term is at least still upwards.
And we touched on then, you said it was, you almost couldn't believe it, that the bridging loan sector was still in the ascendancy and still quite buoyant, considering all the pandemic, Ukraine, the economic status of the country. But what catalysts in this time are you hoping are you going to put in place to try and drive growth through the remainder of the year and into 2023?
I think we can carry on doing more of the same. There's, when it's not broken, we don't need to fix it. So at the moment, we can carry on the way we are. I think the only thing on the horizon that we just need to keep our eyes open for is further rate rises. Apart from that, I think everything's pointing in the right direction.
Lovely. Well, it all sounds very encouraging indeed. All I can say is thank you very much for your time, Agam Jain, CEO of Vector Capital, for meeting with us on Proactive London today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.